Hey everyone, it's Justin here, Voices for Voices. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the show. We are getting closer and closer to episode 400, which is a huge milestone for our organization, for our show, and for anybody who has a show or who has done anything for 400 times. It is really a time to reflect on all the positives that have happened along the way. 90 countries, actually 100 countries now, 100 countries or 1,000 cities. It's again just an honor and privilege to be able to have an audience like yourselves. We have so many people that have been with us from the beginning, and we can't uh, say thank you enough for being with us from the beginning, as well as if this is your first show, this is your first few seconds of the show, you're testing it out, seeing if it's something you might like or someone you know may like. And we just thank you for giving us a shot. Uh, because right, you never know unless you try. If we wanted to start it with episode one, uh, we wouldn't have made it to episode two, and then the story kind of takes over from there as far as how well received our show and our ministry, which is really what Voices for Voices is. It's ministry. It's ministering to people that could use a little encouragement, like myself, even as a host. I can always use encouragement. I don't know anybody that really can't use encouragement. Uh, None of us are perfect, and that's part of what we're going to touch on with today's show about perfection, being perfect, uh, the allure to be perfect. Uh, and so we'll get started with that. Uh, anybody that anybody out there have social media or know somebody that has social media? Uh, I think we may, if we're not on social media ourselves or our organizations, we probably know somebody that does use social media to some extent. And that's really where our journey begins here for this show. Because number one, we know we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Jesus Christ was perfect. We're getting close to his birthday. Uh, and he, I believe, died for all of our sins, and that God did not send him to earth, did not send his only son Jesus to earth. He didn't send him to earth to condemn the earth. He sent him to earth to, uh, in a nutshell, tell us that it's okay. Like we're okay. I'm here to save you. And the years go by, and sometimes tradition and things happen. But getting back to the social media, with all the different filters and effects and uh, that we can use for social media for posting photos, videos. It's that quest to have or make it seem like, wow, this person really is, having, they're living their best life. One of these analogies like that. And we look at it and go, man, like those those people, they look as close to perfect, or like they're traveling the world. Excuse me. they're at the beach, they're, in exotic cars uh, and so there is that tendency for then us, and I'm just speaking for myself, there's that tendency for me to look at those and go, whoa, we better bring it with with our photos, our videos, our promos, everything. And what we may not know or may not realize is that just because it looks like somebody, maybe always looking as close to, let's use the word flawless, as close to flawless as possible. What we fail to realize is those individuals, the ones that aren't the bots, so like they're real, people like you and I, we're all going through things. We all have gone through things. We've all experienced peaks and valleys, uh, and and that's where the whole perfection thing comes in. Of is anybody going to care if we don't have a perfect or perfect, as close to perfect, as close to flawless posts or videos or shows? People are going to just turn us off. And I'm not talking about the people that are, putting the negative comments and that. I'm talking about just regular people, right? They come and they go to different shows. They subscribe, then they unsubscribe, and they're at a watch party watching our show. Like happens more times than I guess what we had thought, which is an awesome thing. Even fathom that we're on like some humongous projector screen or humongous TV, or on playing on the podcast, the audio version of it. And I know I've gotten carried away sometimes with, is anybody even going to watch this? Is anybody even going to care? Is anybody going to listen to this? And that's what social media and things like social media are doing and have done. They've led to people taking their own lives because of that. Uh, there's bullies everywhere, but as what we're learning is just ignore them. And sometimes it's hard to do because we look at, oh, we're getting attention. Oh, somebody's sending us a comment. And some of the comments are good. Some are just people just being negative. And what I always try to say is, hey, can you please take that comment or those comments, out of our show, especially when we're doing, TikTok lives and that. It's totally unnecessary. Find something else to do. Find another TikTok live that you get along with better with those comments. I'm talking about sick, nasty, perverted comments that have no business anywhere. Uh, Being under 18 or above 18 doesn't matter. It just has no place. So this whole perfection thing, we get we get hung up on, and it kind of ebbs and flows. Again, I'm speaking for me, for us, for Voices for Voices. Uh, yeah, there's obviously some shows that are better than others. Uh, some topics uh, hit a little differently, depending on the time that they're released, and so there's a whole host of things that kind of go into into that whole group of different traits and characteristics where we're being judged. There's no two ways about it. We're being judged like everybody else. And so when we have our phones or our smart devices and we're looking through our feeds and our friends or the friends of friends or whatever, however, when you scroll, and I have a tendency to fall into that trap sometimes of, man, like we're gonna have 400 episodes just like that, like it's happening within the next week. Uh, it's just happening, and even with that, and we've had so many. All of our guests have been so phenomenal because they take their time out of their day and share it with us and share it with the world, which is you, no matter where you're at, North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Oceania, Europe, Greenland, Antarctica, you name it. We are we're reaching the entire world, literally. So that's part of what makes me confident that we're going to help in one way or another at least 3 billion people over the course of my lifetime and beyond, is because within 2 years of our show, we're going to be sitting at 400 plus episodes, and we're just going to be continuing. And that's just the show part, okay? So that's just one part of our ministry. Another part of our ministry are the books, the novels, the comic books, the book, The Search for Drake Colton, written by a 9-year-old, the youngest author in the United States at the current moment. And as we know, as we understand, we believe that Ryan Solomon is the youngest author in the world right now. And we're not boasting about it. We're just trying to share what we believe is a fact. Now, we could learn some information that says differently, but right now, we haven't found somebody that is. And then not only that, but then has the support of the family, where it was totally Ryan, Ryan, totally Ryan's idea. He wanted to write the book. That was all on him. His parents, his mom, Amanda, and dad, David, they're also creators. And they didn't force their son to write it. So it's just an incredible thing. And so that's another part of our ministry. Then you're going to start seeing, production. So TV shows, pilots, seasons long shows. You're going to find movies. You're going to find RPG, role-playing games. You're going to find a lot of things that are going to be coming in our ministry to help people. We want people to feel safe. We want people to feel healthy. We want people to feel prosperous, like they're given all the tools uh, as possible. We're only able to do just a teeny bit of that. But that's where us as Voices for Voices, as an organization and as a ministry, and especially with mythical creatures around the world now being brought under the Voices for Voices umbrella, being protected from copyright infringement. Now that's a whole new ball game. So the whole perfection thing, we can second guess and be like, eh, let's not do this, or let's not put that episode out, or let's not talk about this topic because it, it's a topic that is, I don't know, some people don't like certain topics that we share and we talk about. But we're human, and so I've said it once, I've said it a million times. We wouldn't be doing you, our viewers, our listeners, anybody that's ever come in contact with Voices for Voices, mythical creatures around the world, we wouldn't be doing a service to anybody if we just turned the other way. So just like the previous episode where we talked about an actor that tragically took his own life, and the son, uh, Nick Reiner, looks to have taken the lives of his mom and his dad. Both of those are connected to mental health, and that's where Voices for Voices really comes in, is it's not always the glamour thing of like, oh, I want to jump on the mental health bandwagon because, that's the hot topic for today or for the week or the month or the year or whatever. And so that's why episode 400 and continuing on, along with all the other ministry uh, departments, I guess you call them, why it's so important that we continue talking about these horrific circumstances and events that happen, because we all have mental health. It isn't, oh, well, Justin has mental health and I don't have mental health. Well, we all have mental health. And with that comes the potential of mental illness. Some we know about, some we don't, unless we're seen by a professional, we don't know. And I'm not trying to say that every single person on the planet has a mental illness. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that what I'm saying is I have mental illnesses. And yeah, there's days we just passed the winter solstice. So now our literal days, we're gonna have a little bit more potential for sunlight than we had. Just the other day, we had the shortest day by sunlight. It happens every single year, and that's probably one of the hardest periods of the year for me, is once we turn our clocks back an hour all the way until now as we're filming this particular episode, where we gained another minute or so. And then tomorrow we'll gain another minute or so of potential of sunlight. And so we bring these things to people's attention to just keep it real. One of these sayings that when I was growing up, it's like, hey, dude, what's going on? Oh, just keeping it real, just kicking it, whatever the terminology. And I used it. Some of you may have used it. Some may still use it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But this whole side of trying to be flawless with social media, it can drag people down. And so I'm going to just use kind of I don't know, the analogy or symbolism. Um, I can speak and write in English, but I don't always use the right words and the right form. Uh, I I look at the show when I was growing up on Comedy Central. It was called, I think it was Comedy Central. I'll double check that. I think it was, and it was like called the Chappelle Show. Dave Chappelle. So regardless of where anybody stands politically, that was a time, at least it felt like no matter who we are, where our roots are from, that we could all, if we wanted to, again, these are choices that we have, that we all could watch a show and just laugh hysterically at, some of the skits. And I forget how many seasons the show went, but Dave Chappelle was at the top of his game each episode seemed to just build on the previous episode. And and there came a point where the expectation of people was so high because he set the bar, Dave Chappelle set the bar so high. He's a fellow Ohioan. So Dave, if you're ever available, we'd love to have you on the show. Just have a regular conversation. No gotcha questions, just hanging out, chatting. Let us know. But from where I was as a viewer of the Chappelle show, each show again was building on the content. It was like Mozart, playing. Uh, Everything just kind of flowed, and the shows got funnier and funnier and funnier. And we actually use more muscles when we in our face when we laugh than when we cry or give a sad face. Uh, Again, I'm not breaking any records by sharing any of that. That's just a fact. And so there came a time where what we would call like burnout in any workplace, whether it's TV, whether it's uh, writing novels, writing music, uh, performing live shows all over the world. Sometimes there comes a point where it's like I don't know how I'm going to top this last episode, this last show, that we did in, Paris, France, or I'm just throwing a geographic kind of give you an idea. Like I don't know if we got to do something else. We got to keep building. We got to keep building on top of that. Excuse me. And all of us are human, right? Yeah, there's bots and robots and Elon's got, the AI and the robot dogs and like it's pretty incredible what he's doing on so many levels, so many of his organizations. And so burnout can happen to anybody And I'm not saying this happened the day where, because social media was, I think, just starting. I could have my dates wrong. Or we're just starting to be an impact. So if, let's say today, David Chappelle, and I know he's done other shows as well, since then on a different schedule and that. But if he decided, and he had never done the shows that he decided, okay, I'm gonna, in 2026, I'm gonna have, do my show like he did years ago. The scrutiny would just be, it would feel so thick you could like cut it with a knife, how people would scrutinize each and every, because we get scrutinized, no, everything we do, no matter what we do, no matter if we think we did a good thing, whether we didn't. It's all in the eye of the beholder, how they feel, what they think. So there's this whole perfection thing, just trying to link it with, Dave Chappelle. And there's so many times for us that if this wasn't a ministry, and the ministry kind of title really came just in the last 150 episodes or so, which might sound like, oh, just 150. Well, given this time last year, we were literally at 150, give or take, episodes. Yeah, that would be correct. So it's just incredible that once we look through the lens of ministry, at least for me, more times than not, there are times where I try not to judge, but I do. Uh, but there's less of that now than what there had been. And I think that just comes with practice. Again, I'm not no way, shape, or form saying I'm perfect because I'm not. Nobody is. We've already covered that a million times. So I just mean maybe with the timing of episodes and the length and uh, the flow can get better with practice. But I still look at social media because that's one of the tools that we use to let people know that hey, there's a new episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast out wherever you get your podcasts. You can find Voices for Voices there. You watch it on YouTube, you watch it on Rumble, you listen on Apple, you listen on Spotify, listen on iHeart, and there's still another 9 or 10 other uh, audio platforms that Amazon Music, we're on there. So it doesn't matter where you find us, the show's the same. So if you look at episode 390 on Apple and 390 on Rumble or on YouTube or Spotify, whatever your favorite platform is, favorite app, streaming app, it's the same show. We just we're, I think, from what I've seen, because right when you're let's say you're looking at an X post. There's only so many characters you can use if you're not verified. So you're limited. So we're limited in how many platforms we can put links to in an X post versus maybe a LinkedIn or a Facebook. You get the drift. But we try to provide as much as we can because there's sometimes I'll use one, sometimes I'll use Spotify, then I'll I'll use iHeart, and it doesn't matter. It's the same content. It's the same unperfect content no matter where you find us at. And so we don't need to be perfect or even think that we can, no matter how a picture or a video looks on social media. Because trust me, some of those people unfortunately have taken their lives for a myriad of reasons. And so we want, it's taken me a long time to get here. I say like we want to have, and it's hard to have thick skin. It really is. It's hard to have thick skin when you see comparisons and maybe we see great numbers for one episode and then the one following it we think is better and maybe the numbers are a little bit lower. And so if we throw all that to the side and we just stay with the vision of here's who we are, here's who you know Voices for Voices is, that we're a ministry and we're going to talk about easy topics. We're going to talk about hard topics. We're going to talk about people succeeding and doing really well. And then we're going to talk about some of the harder topics. We don't do it because we want to. We do it because we owe our viewers, our listeners. So we're not skewing our coverage, or we're not skewing one way or the other. Uh, because otherwise we would be showing a false narrative of, oh, everything's great and all you need to do is reach out to 988, and we do cover these. And so yeah, if you're somebody has or is going through a crisis and you're in the United States, text 988, call 988, go to the 988, and it's 988 hotline or 988 crisis hotline, and you can chat there. But we're going to just cover a vast array. And that's when you see like Voices for Voices is the hottest show out there. Well, we are, because the individuals, they come, again, they may not like every single comment, they might not like every single guest. But as far as, again, going back to my, you know, showing my age, going back to just keeping it real. So that's just what we do. So we try to take that noise of what social media can be, and can be that dark, that rabbit hole that we're We're just going down and we're like, look at this person, look at that person, look at that, look at this, look at this. Because that's not healthy. Again, doesn't mean we don't do it. It's just not healthy. And so the less we're doing that and that we're comparing, and the more that we're just focusing on us and what we can impact, then the more people like you and others, if you decide you want to put a show together, then the more of you that's going to be hitting 400 episodes and more. And that's what we want to see. We're not saying, "Oh, look at us." We're just sharing information. If you don't like it, well, can't really help you there. Just sharing information. We're sharing goals. We're sharing vision. We're sharing. We're sharing. And if you could do us a big favor and subscribe, you could share, like, follow, give us a thumbs up. Those are all free things to do, and we greatly appreciate if you could do that for us. So don't be discouraged. It's easy to be discouraged. It's so easy just to, take the easy road. Stop looking at what others are doing and start having others look at what you're doing. I'll say it again. Stop comparing and looking so much at what others are doing. So stop that as much as possible and start believing in yourself and your organization. So by you stopping and watching or listening what others are doing, be that change and be that show and be that individual and be that organization and be that TV show, be that movie, be that uh, role-playing game that people are looking at you. Once you start doing that, and I think I just had a revelation myself by saying that. I really do. That was not planned, but that was probably some pretty pretty good info there. So stop caring about others. I'm not saying stop always caring about others. I'm talking about when we're talking about shows. Like, so if we're talking about like a podcast, if we're talking about a TV show, so just lower how much you care and worry about what others are doing and fill that void, fill that empty space with you, with your show, with your novels, with your role-playing games, with your movies, with your TV shows. That right there is some heavy information brought down into something very manageable. Stop spending so much time watching TV, watching other shows, and work on getting you on that show, on that movie. Like, why are we watching this? Again, I'm not saying we 100% stop. All I'm getting at is what would happen if we would take 5 or 10% less of what we're watching on TV and put that towards whatever that project, that thing, those things, excuse me, that you want to do that for one reason or another just haven't done it. Look at me, I'm nothing special. I mean, we're all special. We're all children of God, and uh, but I'm nothing special. I wasn't born into royalty, but the hard work and just lowering that by a couple percent of being so hung up on what others are up to in the same, in the same profession type of deal. And that's, I think, probably a big part of why we are going to be reaching. We literally in a year did just about 250 episodes. That's unheard of. We don't have a staff. We don't have a huge staff at all. We we don't. We have literally who you see and who you're listening to right now. The voice you're hearing, that's basically the staff. So while you might be like, oh look, he's on TV, he's on a show, he's got this huge staff. No, once they hit you know, when we cut for this episode, guess who has to go and edit, and guess who has to go and uh, pick out title description, title names, descriptions, uh, cover for each episode. That is so unglamorous, but it's got to be done. It's got to. It really needs. That's that's the only way it can really get this show out to the masses. And we know we're only getting a tiny portion of the analytics. And the analytics that we see, again, just on the reach alone across the world, 100 countries, 1,000 cities. If that's the analytics that we are getting, goodness, what's on the analytics that we're not getting because of privacy laws, because of private servers, because of many different things. So there's hope. There's a lot of hope. Let that hope start with you and let that be a good thing to be contagious. But look what she did. Look how'd she do that? How you don't get to episode 400 without 399 previous episodes, unless you want to cheat and then just start your episodes at 400. But just like I said at the beginning, you don't get to episode two without episode one. You don't get to episode three without episode two. And the consistency, some people are gonna, again, they're gonna hate. They're like, why are you doing this? This isn't making a difference. Well, I believe it is. And all of you that are watching and listening, no matter what platform you're on, no matter where you're at across the world, we talk about culture and less about politics. So let that sink in a little bit. We talk more about culture and less about politics. More about culture and less about politics. You can kind of line that up with stop worrying about what others are doing or just ratchet it down a percent or two and use that percent or two working on your thing, your things. This can be you next year. Easily could be you next year. You could, heck, you could be on episode 500. There's room for all of us. There is room for all of us. So don't let anybody talk you down. Do your thing, do your things, and come with us. We got a lot of people to help, and that includes us. We got a lot of people to help. We got to help ourselves. So when we share, we get just as much out of shows than the viewer, the listener, the guest, because there's things like I mentioned in this show, I didn't even have it on my radar to talk about, but it came up in the show and the topics that we're talking about. So stop worrying and start thriving. Have a great day. We love you. You're making a difference. You're helping people. You're helping yourself. Stop worrying and start thriving. We'll see you on the next episode.